I did have a few players who were out due to the bye, which is sort of, I wasn't expecting to go up the rankings huge by a large amount this week. But look, all right score, went up the ranks. That's good. So I'm slowly heading in the right direction. There is a few issues with my team, which we'll get into in a second. But for the most part, the pods did all right. So we'll start off with Dacos here, 112. Fairly happy with that. I mean, it was VC, so I mean, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. I should have went to Gorn, which was also what I was thinking to do because it wasn't really any other option other than Sheasel, and Sheasel, got 16 points more. So, well, particularly, I guess that's sort of where I lost a bit of points this week. A lot of other people went Bont. That's not a huge deal. And Sheasel 128, not really going to go too much discussion there. Phenomenal player at his age, 123 average. It's just excellent. And Lockie Bramble, 98. So I brought him in. I thought it was a good idea. Thinking, well, there wasn't anyone else at that price point. Cashing on Hayden Young, who ended up doing quite well. So it's a stepping stone to probably a Luke Ryan or a Tom Stewart, or maybe perhaps a James Sicily or whoever else is around that price range. But I think Luke Ryan seems to be a must-have now, and maybe a Tom Stewart as well. And then Monson Ambrosio 68. So not quite as good this week, but he has that nice nice price rise. I mean, 68's not terrible, but it's not it's not 80 or 90 or 100. It's all right. Look, he's been in the side for a couple more weeks. Still has a fairly late break even, so he should be all right at least for another week. Depends how he performs next week. And Zach Williams, look, Zach Williams is, I wouldn't say a trap, but it's one of those players that could go off if fully fit, but he seems to not be able to run out a game as much as what he did prior to the injury. And look, do have probably be bigger problems than Williams. His break even's probably not too high yet. I think he hasn't had a huge score yet over 100, or not even a high 90s sort of score, which is a bit of a concern with Williams. Does he have the durability? He just isn't performing to the standard that we need him to be able to get a nice cash price rise, a nice price rise out of him. So look, he's probably going to be a hold this week because there's a few other things I want to sort out first. But he may go either next week or the week after, potentially, depending if there's any other issues with my side or how he goes. So I reckon this is a bit of a trap selection potentially that we've had. Hasn't been a complete disaster. He could have got injured, like some of the other defenders, which we'll talk about in a second. And Howe's 26, so this is another huge problem. It just seems the rookies this year, it just seems a bit frustrating. Now Hall, I think he's out as well, so if you had him, you're a bit screwed as well. I just realised I need to undo the changes here. So this is what I actually did have prior. So you probably have an idea what trades I've done. So I did, yeah. So it didn't really change my on-field scoring. So Howe's 26, he may have to go soon next week. I need to check his break even because that's just going to stuff it up. So either will go this week, probably not, because I've got nothing on my bench. So he'll probably have to be a hold because I need to sort out the rookie bench. But look, and you have to go next week or the week after, depending on other issues and other players performing. But we can't have 26 on field. So his cash is going to dry up for probably at least another couple of weeks till that's out of the system, and he may potentially get dropped, although Melbourne do have a few injuries, so before going out as well. So they have to keep an eye on that as well. And obviously got Reed and Caulfield. So Reed's probably going to stay in for a hold. He might be in my side until he comes back and might potentially cash generate from there as well. Who knows? Because Caulfield's going to be out for longer, so I'm going to have to bring in some of the other defensive rookies. A few of the Freo guys, the one who are just Draper or Warmer, whatever his name is. those two players I'm just attempting to bring in. We're going to bring in one of those two players if they're selected. They'll generate some cash, or leave Reed on field now for a loophole option, because he's not as out as long as some of these other players as Caulfield. So I'll just keep that in mind. Now onto the midfields. The midfield wasn't particularly, great. There are a few good things that happened with Mart and Bonham, which we'll get to, because I'm pretty happy how they performed. But Bont was disappointing considering they played West Coast. The issue is here with playing sides like West Coast and North Melbourne. You expect a player like Bont or Tom Green to absolutely dominate against those sides, but it never really happened as much as what we wanted. It was more of an even contribution. With Bulldogs had quite a few players who scored above 100. And it was an even spread. With the scoring, like the lowest player didn't score too much, or there was quite a the lowest was about the range between the lowest and the highest. It was a better even spread of points, and that was the issue with this game. No player really dominated. It was just a good even mixed, and that's the issue. I mean, a lot of other people had it Bont as captain. Seeking Gawn as VC. I was thinking about it. Should I have Gawn as VC? But then had Dacos there because he had an earlier match, and I'm thinking, should I take the gamble with Gawn? Since Livingston did have that match later on, I could sort of loop that. It's hit or miss too. Like Gawn's not going to get 177 every week, which we'll discuss that further on. Look, Bont, everyone has him. It's not a huge deal. But I could have just gained an extra 60 points having another captain, which would have been handy with the rankings. But it's not the end of the world. Dawson 68. Yeah, this is sort of the end of the world, or not precisely, but it's just you got a primo here, scoring 68, and he hasn't had any really good scores at all. And Adelaide really performing poorly as well. So him and Dawson's performing poorly. Same with Adelaide. He's not performing terribly, Dawson, but Supercoach wise, he's doing pretty bad. Fantasy or Dream Team, he's been doing all right. He's been an okay selection there. So I was on the fence with Dawson starting this year. Okay, performed well last year. But then you've got guys like Matt Rao and Sarong, and even Butters, Crouch, all doing better. And it's just frustrating. It was probably the most disappointing thing that happened this week, because he is a bit more of a pod, unlike ours, and it's just irritating. It's probably killing me, to be honest, having Dawson. So I've got a few things I can do here. I can get rid of him. I can trade him out for another primo, lose a bit of money, or I can just hold and hopefully he becomes good again. And becomes that that top 8-10 player that we want, and people may it can potentially go well, and people can bring him at a cheaper price, which sort of frustrates me, but it's just frustrating when you got a player who you expect to perform well but it hasn't. What I'm going to do is we'll probably hold for now. I don't like sideways trading primos, and I've already lost money on him now, so it's kind of it's just, it's a kick up the guts, really. It's just, I don't know what other people's thoughts on it. Should I get rid of Dawson to bring in someone like a Sarong or a Matt Rao? They had his buy. What are people's thoughts on that? I reckon Dawson's, I'll hold him for now, because Adelaide, I've got Melbourne, which is probably another crap matchup. Probably one of the worst matchups, to be honest. They'll eventually have a few easy games, Adelaide, and hopefully he performs well then, I'm hoping. Nick Martin, 136. So, look, that's one thing that went my way this week, because a lot of people jumped off Martin. I just think that was a bit silly, to be honest. I understand the frustration with the disposal efficiency. I mean, other than the first match, he's done okay. Did all right the second match. And the third match, he just got a lot of disposable. Wasn't particularly the best. So 136 for 44 disposables is pretty bad, but 136, we'll take that every week with any player. And a lot of people got rid of him, and that's it's kind of sucks eggs if you got rid of him. To be honest, always had that faith. He wasn't performing poorly, had the disposables. The role was there, and people who hold on to him got rewarded. Now, do I expect this every week? No. He does have to get a lot of the ball to score well. By the looks of it this year. So if he can try to get involved with scoring more, just hit his targets a bit better, I just think it'd be better for Essendon and him in general. But really, when Ridley comes back in, I'm not too sure how that's going to impact his scoring. I'll just have to wait and see on that. But the thing is, he's actually gone up in price. You've actually made a bit of a profit, not a loss, like some people are expecting. So he's a hold for now. I'm not too sure what to do with Martin at the moment. Just hold. I'll have to wait until the dual position status comes in. He'll be a defender. I'll just trade him, put him up there, and that will sort out defence, because that's probably the biggest concern on my side at the moment, other than Dawson. And the Riley Bonner in the same game, and he could have scored a lot more if he didn't turn over the ball as well. But we'll take 100 for a player of his price point, and he's going to be my side for another couple more weeks by the looks of it. Who knows? I mean, he should probably average at least 70 or 80, I reckon. I'll generate some cash and probably trade him on later on. I'll just have to wait and see with that. But yeah, he's in my side for now. And then we've got Matt Roberts, 98, which is great. So yeah, I'm just going to keep holding on to him. Same with McKercher. Traded him in for Clark, which was, I didn't really want to trade Clark out. It was either Mann or Clark, and Mann didn't even get selected due to the late, due to it being a Monday match, which is frustrating. I'm not particularly happy with that. Hopefully Mann does get selected, because I don't think he was that bad against, Adelaide. So it's a bit frustrating. I don't like doing that, but I mean, I had to bring McKercher in either way, because to get the price rise, get the cash gen. So I'm not too fussed about that. Look, 74. I mean, it's not the best, but we'll take the cash rise. And then we've got Sanders, 77, the standard. It was against West Coast, so we're probably hoping for a little bit more like a high 90s, 100 type score. But like I said before, Bulldogs had an even spread. There wasn't one key player that dominated. And then Wilson, 25, which is now, he's probably arguably one of the biggest problems too with this side now. And a lot of other people have this issue, but having Howes and then having Wilson on field, although it was only at top 18, so those two wouldn't have been in my final score anyway. Now it's top 22. I can't really have those two players. They're not going to generate as much cash now. So potentially Wilson or Howes would have to go. One of these two would probably have to go if they perform poorly next week. I just can't have that. 25 was just not good enough. So I'm not too sure. I'll probably just have to hold for another week, to be honest with you. And then we've got Green and Miller didn't play, which was a primo down this week. So I'm just happy I went up in the rankings, to be honest. If I had another primo selected, potentially could have got a high ranking. But I'm not going to trade these two, because they're gun players, Green and Miller. And then Manor didn't get selected, which is frustrating, because he played Hawthorn too, and he could have dominated that game. Oh, not dominated, but could have got a decent score, which is, I'm not too sure what Geelong was doing. Either resting him or saving up for a bigger game, because I don't think he performed that poorly the week before. So again, it's with Manor, it's a bit more risky. I probably should have kept Clark, but he wasn't performed that great either. Still did okay against Hawthorn, but didn't look the world on fire. So, I mean, either way, I had to bring McKercher. So it's not a huge deal. There's probably better midfielders to bring in on the bubble eventually, hopefully. I'm just going to have to wait and see with that too. I mean, I got enough players in for this week anyway. It's more the buy round, which may be a bit of a concern. So we've got Gorn, phenomenal, 177. Wished I had him as a VC, and he's probably going to be at number one ruck with English. Grundy, 114, happy with him. he has lost a bit of price. So I want to get to run into English at some point. Um, once Sydney, have their bye, that might be ideal then in trading to English. Hopefully English drops in price a little bit. But again, we'll see what problems we have. I mean, a lot of people have Grundy anyway, so it's only really having that, 20 or 30, 40 points advantage long term, but it's not a big deal at this stage. It's when if people trade Grundy for English and then you're losing points. So a lot of people start with Grundy, so a lot of people in that situation. Luke Jackson, 98, a little disappointing, I guess, considering he's performed well the last 2 weeks, considering last week. The only concern with Jackson at the moment is when Sean Darcy comes back in, that may impact his scoring. That's the only really concern. Should I get rid of him? Should I bank in the cash? I'm not too sure on that. So it's not my biggest concern at the moment, so I'm just going to have to hold on to him. Flanders 118 average, so actually I didn't have him on field. So actually I did. So he's going to come back in this week. And then Powell, I traded him in for get rid of Sexton. And I wasn't really a fan of getting rid of Sexton either because I just feel like there was more money to made and Sexton didn't particularly have any good weeks yet. And I'm just thinking Sexton could probably also have a few good weeks coming up. It's one of those situations. If Tom Powell goes off, he seems like the hidden gem that everyone picked Fisher over him. Looks like Powell was the better selection at the moment. So if Tom Powell goes off, I could potentially missing an F6, F5 option. And that'd be like another trade I have to bring in later on. Or this may cause I'll lose cash overall in the end. Plus on-field scoring. And plus there's a late break even. And, the second had the bye too, sort of saving this week. It's tough with the forward line because I reckon there's a lot of good, decent forward line options this year, as well as with the midfield. So, you can't have every player, and the ones that aren't performing quite as well have to go, even though they can still make more money. And look, we'll take Tom Powell. He's got 92. Happy with that. James Jordan, 65. So he's going to start becoming a problem if he starts only getting 60s now. His break even's going to be a bit higher now. He may have to go on the buys when Sydney have a buy. So it wouldn't be this week, but probably the week after. And then we got to Harley Reid, which is another problem too. He only scored 54. He's still got a fairly late break even, so he's going to be probably either this week. I'm not too sure I'm going to bring him with the 4 lines yet. If there's another player that's a must-have in, then I'm going to have to get rid of Fareed, I reckon. Because he's a high-price rookie, and he hasn't really lit the world on fire. I know it's going to be tough for his first year, but hopefully West Coast do have an easier run coming up. They got Sydney, which is another crap matchup too. We'll just have to hold on to Reid for this week, unless there's an absolute rookie on the bubble that we need to pick up in the 4 line. Or I can swap him with Manor or Wilson. One of those players would probably have to go. And then Dempsey, 86, who did well. I don't think he scored a goal though, so he could potentially have got 100, but he did other things off the ball work. He did fine and got a few other good disposals as well. So I'm happy with that. He's going to go up in price for at least another couple of weeks. Burry didn't play. I'm on the fence of getting rid of him as well. He's got that 25 in his system. But he still has a low break even. So he's still probably going to generate cash if he plays for another week. And Kevin obviously didn't play. So, look, I'm not as concerned as I was a week ago. But there's still a few issues with some of these rookies. Or with Dawson not performing particularly well. Not too sure what to do with him. I just don't like trading players at that price point unless it's there's someone who is a must-have at that same price point, or he gets injured. So that one probably gonna have to hold. To be honest, I've got just want to fix up this bench here as well because we can't have 26 on field for Howes. And I think there's no other. So look, Miller, he comes obviously back in with Green as well. So those two, who should get rid of out of these two? Oh, God, who knows? Who do Bulldogs play? I mean, I'll sort that out later in the week. We'll take out Sanders for now. Probably wait and have it as an emergency. These two may have to go, and I'm going to have to sort that out. So, in terms of trades, we'll worry about that later in the week. It's not major by concern now. Just wait until the teams comes out because it's with them. There's a couple defenders with Draper from Freo, and there might be a few other defenders in the bubble too. I believe might be a few others as well, and then with the midfield, I'm going to look at that as well. I think Reed probably will be a hold. I'm hoping he gets a 70, 80 next week. And then who else? So who did GWS play this week? Let's see, Gold Coast. Same with Bury. Oh, we'll put in Cadman for even probably a Reed at the moment. Probably Reed has a better role, but he's not performing well. I can just switch Reed up here, and then you've got. We'll just have to wait and see on that. I got too much money on the bench here, or too many good players on the bench, but not quite there with the midfield. So with the defensive rookies, Williams isn't the best either. So unless Williams, who did Carlton play? I mean, we got Freo. It's probably a mediocre matchup. They're doing well this year, Freo. I mean, he's a hold anyway, unless something bad happens. How's Adelaide? The ball going there. I mean, I'm not too sure. Might do a video later in the week. Who knows? All right. Thank you for watching.